Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I have a story to tell you about something that happened to me yesterday, but I also wanted to give you an update on the situation with the trip and what happened and how that went down. And we got news today from the TWE, from the organization or the multinational corporation, if you will, that sold us the trip. They don't want to give us anything for our trouble. They want to shove it into the shoes of somebody else, which is so typical of these companies. And needless to say, we're not going to book any more trips through TWE. We have no interest in TWE any further, and we've had it. We're done. So, needless to say, we're still waiting to hear back from the airline to see what compensation they are going to offer us. Even though I really, there's part of me that just says, you know what? I don't think that the airline is really at fault for this mess. I think that it was TWE that was at fault for it. That's my opinion, but the airline is doing what they can to make restitution, I guess you could call it. And so I'm not going to have any issues with them about it. I'm just going to say okay. But needless to say, I'm going to tell all my friends, don't book any more trips or don't book any trips with TWE. There are tons of other organizations, companies that you can book trips with, but you can go ahead and just not book with TWE. That's my recommendation. That's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to stick to it. So that's what I've got on that. Okay. Yesterday I had I don't want to call it an episode because it makes it sound like I'm in like some kind of medical, mess. And which I'm going to ask my guides about anyway because I got my yes no cards here. And I'm going to just give them a good mix as I tell you about what happened. So we were at the school, or I was at the school. We were getting ready to go on stage. And I was chatting with some of the people in the choir. We were just kind of just walking around chatting with people. And I had this moment, and I don't know what happened, but I just like was lost in space. And it was like for like I don't know how long it was. It was sort of like having an out of body experience, but I was in my body. I guess that's the only way I could describe it because I honestly I do not know what happened until somebody just snapped me out of it. And thankfully she snapped me out of it. But I was absolutely, I was just in this state, and I can't really describe it. So I'm walking around and I'm talking to the various people in the group. And I just finished talking to somebody, and they were talking to somebody else, and I turned around, and my mind just went completely blank. I don't know what happened. I don't know spiritually. I don't know where I was or what I was doing. And then suddenly somebody says, a voice kind of just breaks in and says, "Why are you giving me the evil eye?" And that snapped me back into where I was and what place I was. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. No, 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 I wasn't. I wasn't. I honestly, I wasn't." And I started fumbling over my words, and I was just kind of at a loss because it was like, I'm not the sort of person that would give anybody the evil eye. None whatsoever. I mean, I honestly would never do that to anybody, even if it's somebody I didn't like. If it was somebody I didn't like, I would just avoid eye contact with them entirely. I just would not make eye contact with them at all. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know where I was or what my mind was doing or anything. It was like a moment where my brain just didn't function at all. I wasn't thinking about anything, and I was kind of just staring off in space. That's the only way I could describe it. And then when she said that, then suddenly I snapped out of it, and everything was just as it was before. But I was ending up stumbling over my words. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was doing that or whatever. But it was really like having a sort of an out of body kind of experience because my mind just went completely flatlined. My brain just completely flatlined. So What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my guides, and I want them to be totally, totally honest with me because I really, if this is something medical, then I need to go get help for it. Even though it just happened once and that was it, and then, everything's fine. But I need to find out if I need to, get help for this, or if this was just some kind of spiritual thing that's just a one-off that just happened. So I got my yes and no cards here. I got to look at my rods and my pendulum. So if the cards don't work, in, in whatever way that they should, then I can ask the pendulum or the rods. But I'm going to say, first of all, so was this a medical issue? Okay. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know what it was. I have no idea what it was. Was this a medical issue? And they said yes. So it was something, maybe my brain just fused or something. Okay. Card under that is yes, yes, and then no. Okay. So this was something that happened with my mind. Okay. So I have to, will it happen again? Okay. I'll just say, will it happen again? Blank card, and then no. So this was just something that was a one-off. It was something that happened and that, that should be. Regardless, should I see a doctor? Should I see a doctor? If it's a medical issue, should I see a doctor about it? Okay, yes, I should consult a doctor or talk to a doctor about it. Well, I'm going to see my brother-in-law next week, so I will ask him about it because he is a doctor. He's a medical doctor, so he would be able to tell me uh, who, what kind of specialist or whatever I should see, if any. But um, I was wondering if it was a spiritual experience because sometimes medical and spiritual sometimes intertwine. When I had my surgery, and I was under anesthesia, the only thing that I do remember, I didn't dream while I didn't have like REM sleep where I was like dreaming. I just went blank, and then a few hours later I woke up, and that was kind of sort of. I don't want to say that was what happened, but there was that sense where I wasn't thinking about anything, where my mind was just not thinking about anything. I wasn't thinking about um, where I was looking or who I was looking at or I was what I was thinking about. Um, and I was wondering if it was stress. Could this be stress related? Was this a stress related issue? Yes. Okay. So I had a lot on my mind. I had a lot of stuff going on. So there was like the performance. I was trying to think of the songs or whatever, and so then I had that blackout, I guess you could say. But did it last more than 5 seconds? Because I don't remember. I do not remember, honestly. Did it last more than 5 seconds? Was I kind of in that state for more than 5 seconds? Blank card. So beneath that was no. So it was like a split second. It was probably like a split second, and then suddenly I was out of it. But at any rate, so it must not have been too. Was it serious? I mean, was this a serious situation or something serious that happened to me? Was it serious? No, it wasn't. Okay, so I feel a little bit relieved that it wasn't. Um, but were there spiritual aspects to it? Were there some spiritual aspects to it? Whoops. Card down, card down. Okay. Was there any spiritual aspect to this? Um, I tend to feel that it was. I tend to feel like my guides were telling me something, and maybe I had like an overload. But I don't remember. I don't remember what it was. If there was like an overload or something like that. So, was there a spiritual aspect? Yes and no. So it was just a brain fuse or something. Something just black out, then something came. But anyway, so but I felt really, really badly about it because I was like going, "Oh my God, what have I done? What have I done?" But the reality is, my brain just felt like it had ceased to function for like a split second, and then somebody brought me out of it. So I was grateful to her for doing that, for bringing me out of it, because I was like, I was really, I mean, I was just like, and then when, when she said that, I was like completely, my mind just went, and I just started thinking about everything that was happening and everything that was going on around me. So it was like for that split second, I wasn't thinking about anything, and then I was suddenly thinking about everything. So it was like you're running, and then there's an obstacle in your way, and then instead of going around it, you just stop, and you're not doing anything. You just stop right there, and you say nothing, do nothing, and and then suddenly you realize where you are, and then you go around it, and then you keep running. And that's kind of what it was. And so I have no idea why that happened at that moment. I have no idea. I was thinking about the music. I was thinking about something with the song. And the other thing that I noticed was that the lady that addressed me, she was dressed so impeccably. She looked so lovely. She had a nice V-neck top, and maybe I was just looking at her clothing and thinking, wow, she looks so great. This just really looked fabulous. And here I was just wearing pants and a black shirt and a jacket, and I looked so next to her I looked really kind of plain. So, the plain Jane look, so it may have been that. It may have been something with her admiring her outfit, how she looked. She looked so pretty and she looked so nice, and here I was, you know, plain Jane, kind of thing. I don't know. But anyway, but that's what happened. And I was like going, and I felt really badly about it. And I was just, I totally reassured her. I said, look, or I tried to reassure her. I said, look, I'm sorry. I said, I don't know what happened. I said, it's just like kind of lost in space there or something. But at any rate, so that's what happened. And I was just like going, oh, geez, what have I done? So because I mean, I don't look at people in that way, or I try not to, because why? What's the purpose? What's the purpose of looking at somebody through that kind of you know condescension, or the judgmental gaze, or what have you? It's just not me. It's just not my way. So I don't know what happened there, but at any rate, so that was like really, really strange, and I just like, okay, it's all right. But at any rate, so I think that it was more or less this issue of just things, just everything that culminating, because I have all this stuff going on, all these things on my mind. Um, I'm not really afraid of anything at the moment. I mean, I'm not afraid. I don't want to get sick, of course, because we have our another big concert on Sunday. So that's the one that I had actually asked about a few months ago, about whether or not I should do the duet with the other lady, and it's coming together pretty nicely. So I think it's gonna be okay. But anyway, the card said, yeah, you should do it, and so I'm going to do it, and that I shouldn't chicken out, that kind of thing. So so that was that. But at any rate, so I mean, sometimes things happen, and you can't explain it. You're just sitting there, and you can't really explain what happened. But I just thought I would share that with you, because I was just like, really, that kind of freaked me out, and it was kind of weird. But at any rate, so after we did the performance, I smiled, and because I ended up standing next to her while we were singing, and I was like, and I glanced over, and then I smiled, and I was like, felt kind of sheepish, but you know, um, she probably she probably thought I was completely Looney Tunes, um, but that's okay, because I probably was a little bit. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect, and I never claim to be. So, and one of the things that people have to understand about life in general is that nobody is perfect, and that we are all going to make mistakes. We're all going to do things that may not be right or may not be in the moment, but it is what it is, and so we um we just have to, take it in stride. So, what I thought I would do, um, I don't want to keep you too long. I thought I would, pull some cards here. Um, these cards I've been using them for like current events and things like that, but today I'm not going to read on current events. I'm going to read on instead. I want to I want to get a sense because a lot of the stuff that people read on with tarot is about either politics, current events, or personal readings. Now, I have to admit that, and it's really strange because sometimes when I'm doing a video or when I'm watching a video and people start pulling cards for their viewers or for, for the people, I tend to disengage with the video. I don't know why, but I do. And I want to know why it is that I disengage with certain videos or why it is that I don't watch certain channels about I don't want to say personal readings, but advice readings. Because I mean, personal readings I actually find interesting when people say, do you have a message from my great aunt who transitioned like 3 years ago? You know, that I find interesting. I find it interesting to see how the psychics or the mediums or the people how they connect to the beyond. I find that interesting. I think it's fascinating. But when people start pulling cards for like the general people, I tend to disengage from it, and I don't know why it is. There are only certain channels that I can actually watch where they do like a card reading, a general reading for everybody. And the only channel that I've found myself really connecting to is really, really funny, but it's Tarot Stash. A guy named Gerald who does has he does they do like a hashtag and then they do a reading and they can do a reading and for people. And for a long time I would go on his live streams and I would do the hashtag and I would see if I get a reading. And for a long time, I was like, not my name wasn't getting called, and that was okay. I was like, okay, there are other people need it more than I do, and that's how I kind of looked at it. So, one of the readings that I really like are the spicy ones. They have like sweet or sour, and anytime my name gets pulled, I'll say, "Give me the sour," because I always like the spicy and the funny, that kind of thing, and a few f bombs and a few things like that. I don't get offended by that. But I don't use them myself. I don't say those words myself. But so when they do that, then I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. I can chill with that. And then I watch the videos till the end, and then they do a reading for everybody. And they say, well, you can take what you need and dismiss the rest. And that's pretty much how I look at it. And so I was watching these videos, and I was like going, why is it that when other readers, not Gerald, but other readers, start doing like readings for the general viewership, why is it that I just turn them off? Why? And so I want to look into that. So I want to read on that because specifically, I don't know why it is that I do that. And I want to find out, why do I do that? Why is it that I basically disengage from these videos when people start doing like a reading on everybody? Um, is it because I maybe not relate to that, or is it because, you know, I don't want to say I don't care, because I do care. Because I care about people and I care about, their situations and stuff like that. But I wanted to ask myself, why is it that when you know, um, when I am watching a video, why is it that when they start reading on the general group of people that are in that, the viewers? the video, why is it that I just kind of disengage? Why do I do that? So I'm gonna pull some cards on that. I know this is about me, but I just want to find out because maybe other people feel the same way, and maybe they have the same kind of sense about it. So let's see what I can find out because I'm really interested in knowing why it is that I just totally disengage from that. And so here we go. Some cards here. Okay, and I'm using the Gilded Tarot, which is what I usually use. And when I go to Berlin, I'm going to take that deck with me for sure because that's what I use. Okay, so I got the Star card. And the Star card is I cover up the naughty bits as Libby says. So I cover up the naughty bits. Star cards is about kind of shining a light into a situation. I always perceive the star as being the light that shines into a situation and illuminates that situation. So, does it explain why I tend to disengage? Well, it may be that what the person reading on, that it does apply to me in a sense, but not entirely. And so maybe it's just that small pinpoint of light that I could get from the reading that might help, but I don't know if it will help. So it doesn't detract from them as a reader. It's just me. It's just me basically feeling the way that I feel about it. It's crossed with the Two of Pentacles. And this is about juggling, you know, I guess what applies against what doesn't apply. So it's like trying to find what really it's like trying to find what is applicable to me in relation to a reading. So what fits, what doesn't. Like square pegs, round holes. That's what my guides just said. Square pegs, round holes. Sometimes it fits, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on where you are in terms of that particular reading. The underlying energy is the Seven of Cups. This is about choosing. I mean, it's about the chaos that could come from the reading itself. So, you have all these options, you have all these different things here that are outlined in the card, and yet you have to pick and choose what really works for you. And maybe in that instance, I don't want to pick and choose. I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to mess with it because it's just like, don't have time, or I don't have the energy to really go through the read and find out what it is, where that applies to me, or where that resonates. So whatever it is that they're reading on, then I have to pick and choose what applies or what it resonates, and then dismiss the rest. And maybe I just don't, subconsciously, I just don't want to do that. So that could be what it is. In the immediate past, we have the Four of Wands. This is about the harmony. So I'm going into the videos. I'm going into watching the videos, and I'm seeing that there's a sort of a harmonious feel, either with the reader or readers, as the case. In some videos they have like 2 or 3 readers that come in and they do readings and stuff on the general group, or just it's just that harmony, that harmonious feel that comes into it. The overarching energy is the High Priestess. Well, this is for me. This is, I think, where my spiritual awareness is. So what applies, what doesn't, it doesn't. And I tend to subconsciously, I guess, I don't know. This makes me sound like I'm such an arrogant ITCH, type of person, but I'm not. I'm just trying to figure out why it is that I don't really gel or resonate with a lot of these general reads on the people watching, on the viewers. And maybe this is just me saying, hey, look, you are a different person. You are an individual. And a general read is just a spiritual suggestion. And so whatever it is that that people want you to watch or to, you know, to you know, to see if it resonates. And if it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. And then people tend to move on. So when you're watching a reading on somebody and it's like a political person, like um, the Don Snorleone, that's my new nickname for him. Oh, the sleeping giant. When you're watching a video on him, then you know that all of these cards, if you get a three of swords or if you get a tower, if you get this, they don't apply to you. They're not a part of you because this is not a read on you. But if you have a general read where you have all of these people in a group, like you have a group setting, if you have a choir, if you have a group setting, and they're doing a reading and they get a I don't know, Eight of Pentacles or a Ten of Pentacles or whatever, and they get the start, and then they say, "Oh, look, this is the beginning and ending," and whatever the card represents, or whatever their guides tell them the card represents in that particular read. You could be sitting there going, "This doesn't apply to me at all. Why am I listening to this? Why am I watching this?" It's very, very difficult to pinpoint a group of people. It's like anytime you try to plan a meal with like four friends, you can not find a time to get together with those four friends because everybody has their lives. Everybody has all these things going on. I have a friend that lives across the street from me. Very good friend. We've been friends for years. We've known each other for 30 years or 20, 28 years or whatever, however long it is that we've been living here in this town. But she and I became friends like right after we moved here. When I joined the choir, became friends. We've been friends ever since. And I see her maybe once or twice a year because she's busy, I'm busy. We're all just, we're all living our lives and we're all doing our thing. But when we get together, it's like no days have passed because we get together and we're having a good time with each other and, chat and talk and whatever. So I think that that's what it is with the spiritual readings is that you get a group of people together, 10, 15, 20 people, and each person has their own life. They have their own things going on. And then you wonder why it is that they're pulling a card like the Tower card, and people are like going, well, this doesn't apply to me because I'm not having that Tower moment. I'm not in that moment right now where I have that Tower moment. So why is it that the Tower card is coming up? And so those kind of questions kind of resonate and they start asking. But the person sitting next to you may be going through something really dramatic and really difficult. And then they say, yeah, that card does apply to me. So it really is very difficult. It's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle, I think, trying to determine for every person in that group what cards are applicable to them and what cards are not. And that's what I think with the High Priestess. In the immediate future, you have the King of Pentacles. And this is, okay, right now, this is not a political reading. So this is about the fatherly, the nurturing energy. So to me, what it is that this is the reader who are doing the pulling the cards and they're doing the reading and they're saying, this is what the cards are telling me. So it's sort of that guidance figure. So the person that's pulling the cards, they're not doing anything wrong, not by any stretch of the imagination, but they are looking at the cards and they're saying, this is what I'm getting, and this is the guidance that they're trying to offer. So there's nothing at all wrong with these folks wanting to do this, wanting to pull a general community read for the people in the community. There's nothing wrong at all with doing that. It's just, does it apply to me or does it not? And that's where I think that this is the guidance. This is the person who wants to guide us through whatever situation we're faced with. Externally, we have the Fool. And this is This is the choice of do we follow the cards that they are presenting, or do we go a different path? And this is the decision where we go. Are we going to go on faith? Are we going to go on what our intuition tells us, or are we going to go on what their cards are saying? Do we choose to do that, or do we choose to follow our own instincts and our own intuition with regards to it? So it's about maybe it's about maybe it's about us deciding for ourselves what is applicable to us and what isn't. Internally, we have the Two of Swords. This is the choice. This is the choice that is presented. This is re-emphasizing the fact that there is the choice. So, do we listen? Do we heed? Or do we go our own way and find our own path? Hopes and fears is the Justice card. And in essence, this is about the outcome of our choices and what we bring into that. You know, when we decide to heed their suggestion, then we may experience this sense of poetic justice, or we may or if we decide to follow our own intuition, that will be also what we experience, is that sense of justice, or that sense of I don't even want to call it justice. I just want to call it the this isn't even in the outcome position in the read. This is just this is just this is just what we hope will manifest itself, is that whatever it is that we choose to do, it will manifest that sense of justice, or that peace that we will have. And then the final outcome is the Four of Swords. And the Four of Swords, to me, is about being at the ready for whatever it is that comes. What I look at is at the imagery in this card, and that is the man lying on the bed. He may not be asleep. He may be awake. I don't know if his eyes are open or if they're closed. It's hard to tell. No, they're open. The eyes are open. So he's laying there, and he's at the ready, and he's waiting for whatever comes. And so when something comes, he's going to be at the ready. He's going to reach for that sword, and he's going to be able to overcome it, or what have you. So what I get from this is basically this notion of, when you decide to heed what other people tell you when it comes to cards and when it comes to readings, when you decide to heed whatever it is that they are telling you, then basically what happens is you decide to heed their their words or suggestions, and then you can feel the benefits from whatever it is that they're presenting. So why do I not watch them? Probably because, for more often than not, the cards just haven't applied to me. They just haven't resonated with me. So it isn't that the people themselves are, because they're great readers. I watch a lot of readers on YouTube, and they're fantastic. And I have absolutely no problem watching other readers on YouTube and gaining insight from them. But I think that what for me, because I pull cards myself, I feel more in tune with the idea of, if I have a question, I can go to my guides and I can ask them and see if their answers resonate. Like when I asked earlier about whether or not this was a medical thing with the brain, and they said yes, it was, but didn't come across as a serious issue, because I got the no card. I think that if it was serious, it's like, no, it's not that serious, so I'm not going to worry about it. But yeah, there is that sense that when we are out there and we're watching videos, or we're doing things, or we're reading cards, or we're doing rods, or we're doing whatever, that the insights that we might get, sometimes they will manifest themselves, and sometimes they won't. And one of the things that we also recognize is that when we are pulling cards, we're not always going to be right because the universe doesn't work that way. We're not always going to have an accurate reading. We're not going to have an accurate read on everything. This is entertainment. This is for entertainment purposes only. I haven't said that in a couple of videos, but it is what it is. It is entertainment. It is not something that should be carved in stone. It's not something that is absolutely, fact-based. It is just a person pulling cards to see if maybe there's some sort of indicator from the universe as to what will happen or what could happen. And if we're accurate, then great. If we're not, well, back to the drawing board, Well, maybe next time. So that's what I got for you today. Yeah, I will wait to hear from the airline to see what they have to say with regards to all of this. But as of right now, I am at the point where I'm saying I will not book any more trips on TUI with TUI. I'm not going to give them any more of my money, and my husband feels pretty much the same way. So that's where we're at. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. I really appreciate it, and I hope to be back in a few days to give you another video. Hope this made some sort of sense. I'm not sure if it did, but whatever the case, it is what it is. So take care. Have a great day. And as always, namaste.